I care very deeply about King Arthur, believe it or not.
Mm.
As a kid, didn't have a whole lot of friends, so I read a lot. And I didn't read comics a ton as a kid. I had a bunch, but I read a lot of the old literary classics: King Arthur, Robin Hood, Treasure Island, Three Musketeers, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So King Arthur, any of those like public domain classic legends, kind of pull at my heartstrings a little bit. And I'm very, very conflicted about this next story. Apparently, Zack Snyder is toying with the idea of doing a quote-unquote more faithful adaptation of King Arthur. Now, I don't agree with Zack Snyder on a lot of stuff. I'm not the biggest fan of his, but at least if he and I were to ever have lunch together, at least we could have that common ground going, oh yeah, a lot of King Arthur movies over the past 20 or 30 years have just sucked. Like, he's aware of it. He's just like, I want a faithful adaptation. I'm just like, I'm with you there, Zach, because, God, I watched King Arthur Legend of the Stone with Heather in theaters from 2017 with Charlie Hunnam.
Oh,
That is one of
no.
the worst movies I've ever seen in a theater. And I love Guy Ritchie, but that was just awful. And then before that, I love Antoine Fuqua. Like, I love The Equalizer. I love The Magnificent Seven. But his 2004 King Arthur movie with Johan Gruffudd, that was bad. And neither of them even remotely resembled a King Arthur movie. Although, I believe we talked about it before in the podcast, the 2004 King Arthur has outstanding music. Like, Hans Zimmer outdid himself on that score. That's just a banger.
The entire album is on my instrumental playlist on Spotify. Any suggestion that you have for soundtrack stuff, I put it on there. And I'm seriously, to all listeners out there, please take some time and add that to your library. It is magnificent. So thank you again. Kudos to you.
Yeah, but Zach is not wrong. I've been, as a King Arthur and a Robin Hood fan, I've been afflicted in crappy adaptations of both. The last good Robin Hood movie was Robin Hood Men in Tights. Come at me, it's still an excellent Robin Hood movie. King Arthur, I genuinely don't know what the last good King Arthur movie was. So, I'm going to say something not very normal for me, but, you do it, Snyder. Go get it. Because as much as I'm not your biggest fan, you really can't do much worse than what we've already had. It's just weird to me of going more faithful. I get being more faithful, but there's also a lot of facets to the King Arthur legend. Like, there isn't one definitive version of King Arthur. So I'm conflicted. Then again, I'm not as emotionally connected to King Arthur as I am like a Superman or a Batman or a Spider-Man. So if he gets in at least the same ballpark of King Arthur, unlike previous adaptations, I think I can live with it and be like, okay, this is at least closer than whatever the heck Charlie Hunnam was thinking, or whatever the heck they were doing with the Antoine Fuqua one. So, Zach, just get it in the same ballpark, get it within the same sport-ish, to go with the metaphor for King Arthur, and I guess I can be on board with it. Just, I don't know. He's not my favorite, but it can't get much worse than it already has been.
Yeah, that when you sent me that, well, actually in our show notes that you showed this, I was just thinking, I'm like, well, faithful adaptation. I'm like, well, there is that movie with, was it Dev Patel? Was it called The Green? No,
It hasn't
The
come
Green.
out yet.
Yeah, no, it hasn't yet. What is it called? The Green Knight.
Yeah, that looks
I'm
awesome.
like, yeah, that does anything Dev Patel touches, I'm gonna watch. But yeah, I just can't help but think it's just gonna look like 300. And as much as I kind of admire that testosterone-fueled movie in its own right, the idea that it would, I don't know, man. We're gonna talk about this in our discussion later. Like, sure, I guess, but it's like, why is it that we're getting, for every bad Batman movie, there's also a bad King Arthur movie? I don't understand that particular ratio.
There's
In a
more.
way.
There's more bad King Arthurs than bad Batmans, at least.
Well, yeah, I just like what I guess maybe for the listeners out there, Nathan, what is a faithful adaptation to the source material? What is it? I mean, just no comment, no like, no opinions. What are the facts? And that's the
Uh,
runtime.
a little bit of sorcery, which I feel like Zach might lean a little too heavily into that, knowing his propensity for a spectacle. Um, I don't know. It's not like there's a definitive narrative. It's like Robin Hood. There isn't one start to end story. It's a combination of smaller individual stories of like him with his knights, him with I was about to say Dumbledore. That is not who it is. Merlin. Although, Morgan Le Fay just it's not a definitive story. There's certain aspects, like, him actually being a king throughout the entire movie that are kind of important. Having a round table for most of the movie. Those are kind of aspects that have been missing from the previous incarnations. Like the things that are most synonymous with King Arthur, a round table and the name King, have been missing. I'm worried, though, that he's just going to kind of turn this into another version of Superman of King Arthur is a Jesus metaphor. I'm going, are you sure about that? I'm worried that Zach was just like, who's in the public domain? Dibs. King Arthur's available. Because no matter what, you can always do a King Arthur movie, just like you do a Robin Hood movie because it's public domain. I don't know. Maybe he's got a love and appreciation for it, like Tim Burton did with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Who knows? I don't know his history with King Arthur, but again, he can't do much worse than what's already happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I guess that's true, but I also, do we really want to? I mean, do we really want to test somebody on that? I mean, of course, I guess, that considering that if you set this bar so incredibly low that, hey, we'll just take anything. I just don't know if this particular story is just begging to be retold or done right. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. It's hard for me to get excited about it. I'm sorry. Like, it is, but hey, more power to him. At least he knows what he wants to do next. I'll give him to it in that way, that regard. So.